podcast. Today we're gonna be talking the Aetherdrift spoilers. We're racing into another set right after Innistrad Remastered. Haven't even finished talking about that one, but we're on to this one.
Yes, Jack. Let me know that Innistrad Remastered is all the way spoiled, which I didn't know. So that's fun. If you haven't looked at that yet, I encourage you to do so. It's got just reprints across the 3 blocks that have been, or I guess, what is that? 1 block and 2 sets that have come out, or is it two? It's 2 blocks and one additional set that's come out. It's been a lot of Innistrad, so lots of interesting and cool stuff in there, but not stuff that you haven't seen before. Um, in terms of like mechanically unique cards. There are like old border Epcaster mages and stuff, which I thought was cool. So yeah, but that's
Well,
not what
you're not wrong to be confused about what kind of block set constructions there were, because the Innistrad sets have literally been all the different set types. We've had
the
three
3 block
block sets.
constructed, yeah.
We've had two block sets.
Yeah.
We've had singleton sets that were not linked but linked back to back.
Oh yeah, Crimson
Um,
Vow and Midnight Hunt, yeah.
in Midnight Hunt. So you're right to not remember what the hell they were doing because they were experimenting a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's needless to say, it's been a lot of really good flavor. Like I just love the Vorthos of Innistrad. The Gothic horror, I think, translates really well into Magic cards. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about wacky Aetherdrift spoilers. I love this set already. Like it's kind of amazing how much, or I should say, how good Wizards is at pulling me back in when I've been away for what feels like a long time in like the Magic scene. I feel like I haven't played a lot, but like this set makes me excited, just in the same way that like Duskmoor made me excited and Bloomborg made me excited. So let's start talking cards. I think
So right off the bat,
BNWXC is probably a good card to talk about. We have a new vowelless homunculi, homunculus in Venwixt Berberos host. It's
that's
one in a
perfect.
blue.
That's perfect.
He's a 0/4, so he's got a big old booty. He's not going to be doing too much attacking, and he's got start your engines. Well, I should say he can attack, which is important. He doesn't have defender, but he's a 0/4, so you got to do some work if you want to attack with him. He's got start your engines, which is a new mechanically unique, or it's a new unique mechanic to this set, and it says if you have no speed, it starts at 1, which I assume is your speed. It increases on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Or I should say, it increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Its max speed is 4. So what happens is you play Benwixt Verbose Host. It says search your engines. If you have no speed, you are at 1 speed. Everybody with me so far? Cool. You have no maximum hand size, and then max speed, if you're at 4, if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead.
What?
So I think that this is an interesting one to start with because like some of them are a little bit more like they've got start your engines and it also is clear like the card contributes to you having max speed as well. This one is like start your engines, it's got 0 power, good luck. Figure out a way to get there, but if you can, every card you draw you're drawing 2 and you have no max hand size. So it's like the upside is super big.
Yeah, I look at this card and I go, okay, so like, what are like instances of one card like draw at a time? So like Ristic Study would be really dumb in EDH, right? Like you have like max speed and then like each draws two. Opt and Consider are both like super level up. You're almost to Ancestral at that rate.
Yeah.
Like there's like a lot of really crazy things that you can do in like Eternal formats with a card like this. And that's one of the things that about Start Your Engines that I think like definitely I would like need to like iron out 100% is whether or not you're able to get, and this is something that's gonna be important for the mechanic to be good or not, is can you go from 1 to 2 in that first turn that you start your engines, right? Can you get the 1 and then hit them and then because you hit them increase it again, or can you only do that once per turn? That one like that one fact will change whether or not the mechanic is like busted or like meh.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's also like a good segue into the fact that you have just like a potential soul land in
Oh my god.
Muraganda Raceway, which Gorgeous art, by the way. I think that clicking on some of these and just oh, this doesn't have an alternate art spoiled yet. Um, some of these do under here, like for Vinwix, for
Ooh,
example. Like this is a really cool, like borderless, like
our boy Fibblefip grew up.
yeah, it's a great art. But this is really interesting. So it's got starter engines. So if you like play it on turn one, it will get you to speed one. However, if you are already speeding in any capacity, it does not increase that. That's something to keep in mind. Like start your engines just because it's on your card. You can think about it like a car. You start your engines. Once the engine is started, you're not gonna starting your engines
Start your
doesn't
engine
start your engine
again.
again.
This is true.
Like it's really
Very
important to
good
keep that
point.
in mind. So, like that's a flavor win. Uh, unless something is like stop the engines, like in which case it would make sense to start your engines again. Um,
Kill the engines.
a player's speed is reduced to 0, which I mean, who's to say? That could definitely be a card here in this set. But yeah, if you have max speed, it adds colorless, colorless. So it's like again, we're seeing these very, very high upside cards. This is a soul land. This draws you. This is like doubles your card draw. Super, super good. There are common land versions of the starter engines, like this one. It does not produce 2 mana at any point in the game. However, if you have max speed, you can tap it to give a creature haste. It also starts your engines. And there's also a common one. Same deal. All of these are untapped lands, which I think is huge. Max speed, 3, tap, rummage, discard a card, draw a card. Um,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
it's it's so powerful that these are untapped because a lot of these mechanically like unique lands are usually tap lands because they're utility lands. The fact that they're untapped is very very important.
Yeah.
We also got a
Uh,
lot of gear hulks being spoiled today.
yeah, we talked about this one earlier. I think I just kind of want to. Oh, we should talk about Medicant Core. What does this guy do?
So I feel like Medding Core is one of those cards where when you look at it initially, you're like, this card's not that good, and then you think about it in other formats, you're like, okay. So it's 2 mana for a legendary artifact creature robot. It's a star 3. Its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. Start your engines if you have no speed. We talked about this. Max speed. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may pay 1 colorless. If you do, copy it. The one restriction of this card is getting to max speed. But if you're able to get to max speed, in Infinity, you're casting this spell and you're literally copying all of your extra stuff. Usually in Affinity, you have one extra mana. So if you cast a Thought Monitor and you copy it, you don't get the cast trigger. So that's a
Mm,
bad example, but
mm.
you could copy Mox Opal, you could copy
I mean, you could copy the Aether Spark, which is something that we're
there
going to
we
talk
go.
about there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is like right. My mind immediately goes to modern and how can you break this? And when in reality, this will be like a card that's played in Commander. This will be a card that's played in Standard, and there's gonna be some cheesy, really crazy things that's gonna happen with this card. But
Yeah.
my brain goes immediately to Mox Opal, right? You just pay
Mm.
1 colorless mana, copy your Mox Opal, and then it pays
No,
for itself.
that's a really good point. I mean, you do have access to Memnite in Modern, which is a 0 mana 1/1. You could like the problem with like playing any of the colorless start your engine cards is that this cost a white and a blue, so you'd have to like figure that out. But you have access to Mox Opals. Like, who's to say you can't go on turn one land soul land that starts your engines, you play Memnite, you play Springleaf Drum, you tap your Memnite for a mana, and then like or like you play Mox Opal, you tap your Memnite for a mana with Springleaf Drum, you tap your Mox Opal, you cast Mendicant Core. Next turn you're at 1 speed, next turn you're at 2 speed, and you're off to the races. It's like,
Yeah.
and then is it good? No, it's like fine in that case because you have were these artifact lands? I don't think they were. I think they were just basic
No.
lands. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like a 4/3 on turn one that you made along with the Memnite. Like that turn sounds decent. So the fact that it also has that ability to just be a giant dumb beater, I think will facilitate it in some decks potentially back to modern. If it didn't have that, I would be like, if this was like a 2/3, like stuck, I'd be like, this card just doesn't do enough before max speed is accomplished, you know?
Yeah. And that's a good point. This is your construct before you Urza Saga ticks up, right? This is your turn 1 construct.
Yeah. No, yeah. If you can have an explosive start with Mox Opal, this is a super good construct like card that you like. It's like a cranial plating that you don't have to equip in a
No,
sense.
you put cranial plating. You're right, Cole. You put cranial plating on this with the boots, the lava spur boots, and then you also put the shadow spear on it.
My man's cooking.
I could, I could no, I that affinity's a thing.
Yeah.
We live in the future.
Yeah.
The future's the past.
I will say,
Splinter Twins is the best deck.
like, looking at all these cards and stretcher engines, all I'm thinking about is like how to facilitate this in standard. And all I'm really coming
Yeah,
to is damn nurturing pixie and damn spyglass siren are both so good. Like in terms of
but
just like all the things that
playability.
Watsy's
Yeah,
doing, like in standard, Spyglass Siren on one, Medicant Core on two. Like you have a clue, you have a map already in play. It comes into play as a 2/3, and then on turn two, you're at 2 speed. Like that's a way for me to see that this has legs in standard. If Spyglass Siren didn't exist, you have 3-bit inspector and novice inspector in standard
yeah.
as well. So it's like that works in both scenarios. I don't know. It probably gets cut down in standard. Like, the one thing to mention about this card is, like, it's an 04. It gets cut down. It's really sad. Like, it's the saddest thing ever that we're
True.
still living in a world where that's something we had to figure out, but it is.
Well, and I think that that's something that was just Wizards is playing towards, right? They're playing towards, hey, the removals are going to be really good, so let's make something really busted. Speaking of really busted, Cole, do you want to talk about this card?
Yeah, I don't know about really busted, but it's very interesting. So, it's a 4 mana.
I almost spit on my water.
It's a
You're
4
so right.
mana. It's called the Aether Spark. It's a legendary artifact, Planeswalker equipment. So, two things there. It's our first ever artifact planeswalker. It's our first ever equipment planeswalker. So that's breaking two different records there. As long as the Aether Spark is attached to a creature, the Aether Spark can't be attacked and has whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, put that many loyalty counters on the Aether Spark. So to be clear, let's say you have a 2/2. Um, it's attached, the 2/2 hits, it'll get 2 loyalty counters. So it's the amount of damage that the creature is doing when it hits. +1, you attach the Aether Spark up to one target creature you control. Put a 1/1 counter on that creature. -5, draw 2 cards. -10, add 10 mana of any one color. What are
That's pretty crazy.
what are our thoughts here?
So I feel like if you're going to be in a really aggressive deck, this is a good way to like um fill a slot, maybe a flex slot. You're trying to figure out hashtag flex slot. You're
Mm,
trying to figure out like what you're gonna like play like as your finisher, what you're gonna play as your card advantage spell. I don't think this is gonna be like the cornerstone or like the centerpiece of anything crazy. There might be some crazy like reanimator or not reanimator like in equipment deck in standard where you like cheat an artifact into play somehow and you use this to go crazy. But I
mm.
feel like these modes are very reserved, and unless you're able to hit for like 8, and put 8 counters on this, I don't think it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah. So you would need to hit with 6, basically, like the turn it enters to get to the alt mode. And you can't like it can't enter in divination, which is like really awkward. Um,
Yeah.
I think that it's like interesting. It's weird that it doesn't work with vehicles. Like that was another thing that I had kind of like it is like it's not a vehicle. It's its own kind of deal, but like it's weird to me personally that it's like we have this major vehicle theme and it seems like that might be a big miss there. But I digress.
Would
This
you?
this card's cool. I will say I just wanted to bring up
Yeah.
this card in tandem. Boom Mobile, which is a card that I had looked
Yeah.
at. This card's so fun. It kind of reminds me of like Sarkhan's Unsealing, where it just kind of incites this big red and like
Yeah.
philosophy. 2 red for a 5/5 artifact vehicle. This vehicle enters. Add 4 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to activate abilities, and then it has exhaust. Exhaust means you can only use the ability one time that game. So if you blink the creature, it obviously like resets it. But while the creature's in play, you can only use that ability once. And that ability is you can pay X, 2 and a red, so 3 mana plus X. This vehicle deals X damage to any one target. Put a 1/1 counter on this vehicle, and it's got crew 2. So I only wanted to bring this card up because if you can somehow construct a masterpiece that is comprised of Boommobile and the Aether Spark, you will be
Ooh.
able to have so many like cool turns. Let's say you have literally like 6 mana. Like you played Boommobile, you played Aether Spark, you equipped it, you swung for 6 somehow. Let's just say you got there. Let's not figure out the details. Next
Yeah, you
turn,
got there.
yeah.
your
Next turn,
your
you
opponent's stuck on 2 lands.
yeah, you play your 6 land, you add 10 mana, you've got 16 mana, Boommobile costs nothing. That's 13 to the dome. Like after you attack for 6, that's 19. So like as long as you had one more like point of damage in there, you're killing your opponent. That's
That's good.
sweet. Is that good? No, but it's sweet. I just wanted to bring that up.
Sweet is good.
Sweet is good.
Also, last thing about the other spark, would you Stoneforge it?
No, not even a
Thank
little
you.
bit.
I needed you to say it so people could hear it said.
Yeah. Maybe if there's like a super like juiced card with ward that you can slap this onto so that you're not worried about it like um getting picked off, but like the Aether Spark itself is an artifact with no inherent like protection for itself, so it's like yeah, I would not put this in a deck.
Also, it's a planeswalker, so they can attack it, right?
Not while it's attached to a creature, but yes, when it's not attached, yes.
Can't do it. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
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 and yeah, exactly. When it's not attached, it's just it can be attacked. Like that's crazy.
yeah. So yeah, let's
So,
hop back over to some mythics, huh?
yeah, yeah. Well, which would you like to start with, Cole?
Winter seems really good. Let's start with him with this thing.
Yeah,
Winter
Winter's
Curse Rider.
very pushed.
Blue and a black for a 3/2 human warlock. Ward pay 2 life. Artifacts you control have ward pay 2 life and exhaust. 2 blue black tap. Exile X artifact cards from your graveyard. Each other non artifact creature gets neg X until end of turn. So it doesn't kill itself either. Each other non artifact creature gets neg X. This card is
Very pushed
sweet. It's also a 2 mana 3/2. Um, like
with Ward.
with ward pay 2 life, this card is pushed. Um,
Like
I like this card.
affinity,
Yeah,
affinity.
I like this card a lot, and my favorite part about these things is, like, they didn't, like, this artist, Mr. Bader, very clearly did not hold back on just, like, the basic art. Like, this car has teeth, like normal human teeth, and
This has to be the Duskmourn rider. Like
it
this is what I'm looking at. This is the
yeah,
Duskmourn guy.
it
He's literally he's like I'm from the place where the demons live.
yeah. So super cool
Like
there.
that's so cool.
Let's talk about the last ride. What's the last ride do?
The last ride's 1 black for a 13/13 legendary artifact vehicle. The last ride gets -X where X is your life total. So normal Death Shadow. Then you can pay 3, pay 2 life, 3 mana 2 life, draw 1 card. 3, 2, 1. And then you go when you crew with 2. So it's got crew 2 and it's a Death Shadow. Artifact, so it's a little bit more susceptible to dying. But again, this looks
Oh.
like another Duskmourn's card. Like the Duskmourn team looks like the coolest people in the entire thing.
Yeah, so it looks like the last ride is what Winter is riding.
Oh, you're so right.
Um, and
You're so right.
in the flavor text it says the rear view mirror showed Winter what awaited him should
Should
he
he
fail.
fail?
And it's all
Oh,
it's all the demons chasing after him.
that's so fucking awesome.
That's so cool, dude. And this art's cool too. I like this. It's kind of like psychedelic. Oh, this is sick, dude. I like this. I like
But
this.
there's a different flavor text on the other art.
Oh, it
Sorry,
does? Ooh, leave a
leave a
nightmare.
nightmare in your life.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's so cool.
Man, I want this to be good so bad. That's super, super cool. Um, and I think notably it's a 1 mana card. It's a 1 mana play. So like in terms of the floor, it's fairly high in my mind. Like as long as you can find yourself like I don't know, for maybe it's like a play that you put in the sideboard, like you like bring 4 of these in against aggro and you just like put them
Mm.
into play and you're like, okay, I have 2 of these in play. I'm low. I'm at 6. These are now 7/7 or that's not math. Yeah, 7/7s. Um
And you're like, I'll kill you.
and I'll kill you, or like you can't attack into me. So super cool. All right, what's loot do? Loot the Pathfinder 2 teamer. It's a 2/4 with
Very, very pushed.
very pushed. Loot is picking up some skills and some abilities on his way through the multiverse, on their way through the multiverse. Double strike, vigilance, haste. It's a 2/4 for 5 mana. Exhaust. So remember, you can only cast we use one of these abilities while the like once while the card's in play. Green tap, add 3 mana of one color. So Black Lotus. Blue tap, draw 3 cards. So Ancestral. And red tap, deal 3 damage to any target. Jack, what are our thoughts?
Someone pointed out that Agatha's Soul Cauldron is still illegal in this format.
That's a really good point. This is a lot
No,
better than Archmage Emeritus or whatever they're trying
yeah,
to put into
and I
play.
went, and I went, oh no.
Give all your
So,
creatures red tap, deal 3 damage to any target. Ugh. Mayhem Devil
what?
just is so jealous right now.
Yeah,
Man,
it's
Agatha's
really.
Soul Cauldron is like the coolest card ever.
It's insane. Okay, yeah. So loot is a card that I feel like is pretty pushed. Like you just put an equipment on this thing, right? Obviously, the Aether Spark is meant to be strapped to the back of this tiny little thing, and double strike. You put a counter on it, becomes 6 power, deals 6, puts 6. Cole, we mapped it out. You put the Aether Spark on loot. It uptick, put a
Right.
counter on it. It deals 6,
It
and
deals
then you get to
6.
10.
And then you get to 10. There you go. And it's a oh, it's got haste, so that does work. So like you can Aether Spark on
You go
4,
4.
loot on 5, and still get there. That's very cool. Yeah, winter's nice. This is a nice row of cards right here.
It has a very good cardboard.
Hey, look, we got a goblin. What's this do?
So this is an interesting card in Commander for sure. I'm interested in how we're gonna break this in other formats. Redshift Rocketeer Chief is 2 mana for 2/3 with Vigilance. Taps to add X mana of any one color where X is its power. Spend this mana only to activate abilities, and then it is exhaust. 10 colorless, a red and a green, so 12 total mana. Put any number of permanent cards from your hand on the battlefield. Uh, Ultimate Show and Tell. Commander staple for sure instantly right out of the gate. Like this is your legend in Commander if you're playing Gruul. It's gonna allow you to
Yeah,
show and tell your stuff.
that's
It's
no joke.
busted.
Yeah.
Um Now how do we play this in modern? How do we play this in other formats?
That's tough.
Um
I feel like that's just a
it's
lot of
it's
moving
it's
pieces.
yeah, it's
Like
pretty tough.
let's break down the ways that we can get to 10 red green. We can make Redshift ginormous so that he basically like taps and does the job for you.
So
You,
lords.
you
Yeah.
through lords, through pump spells, whatever it might be. Um, you can it's a goblin, so my mind went to Skirk Prospector, like playing like Gleeful Demolition Prospector, or maybe like the more like traditional like Wily Goblin Prospector kind of game plan. But the issue is then you need like a ton of things to put into play. So your deck has to be like it has to consist of little dudes or pump spells, redshift, a ton of top end, and then somehow have like interaction and just like a cohesive game plan. So this just feels like too many moving
Exactly.
pieces. Yeah. This card's so cool though. Like I feel like this card would be a sweet commander.
I was
Um
gonna say legend. Yeah, it's definitely an amazing legend. What do you think about the we I don't know if we've talked about this in the recording yet. The yellow border.
I don't love the yellow border. I think I'm actually which is funny because I think I'm higher on the yellow border than Jack is, but I don't love it.
I
Jack does not like the yellow border, which honestly, the more that I'm looking at it, the more I'm like, what is this treatment? What did they say that it's called? It's called
the piss
the
treatment.
no,
The,
the first place foils dazzle the competition. That is
the
what
piss treatment.
that's what it's called.
It's the first place to dazzle the competition treatment.
That's
Oh, we're
ridiculous.
dazzled. We're
Uh,
frazzled dazzled.
I think notably in modern, which is ridiculous, like maybe historic or something you could try. Scale up gets you pretty far. Like for 1 mana, it gets to 6,
That's a good point.
and then all you need is 6 more mana. So that's a lot more mana. That's a lot of mana. What's the card that doubles your creature's power? Assault Strobe? Um,
Um,
there's like a 1 red mana card that doubles the creature's power. I think. Fairly
I think
confident.
it gives it double strike, doesn't it?
If it's double strike, then that's worse. I think that Assault Strip is
Yeah,
double
I think.
strike. Yeah. All right. Anything
So
else?
you get on this page, I think that you'll really enjoy that Caradora, part of a Electricia.
Oh, it's got mounts or vehicles text. This is a card that we had
Yeah.
though.
Okay, Zahor. Zahor, Glory's Past. Start your engines. Sack another creature, surveil one. Activate only once each turn. So that's not at sorcery speed, so it's once per turn,
Yeah.
you and your opponents. Max speed. Whenever a non token creature you control dies, create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. This card's pretty good. You're just gonna sack your blood guest, surveil one, then another
Why would
blood.
we be slacking our Bloodghast, Jack? It's not like they reprinted Bloodghast in standard, did they?
oh, oh,
Wait a minute, they
by the
totally
way,
did.
Bloodghast, 2 black mana, 2/1, landfall, bring it back from the graveyard. If an opponent has 10 or less life, it has haste. So yeah, we uh we think that Bloodghast is pretty good historically. We're gonna see whether or not it's good enough in standard.
Okay,
Um,
this is a
oh my
cool.
god,
Listen,
that's
that
okay. So like, I
you're
don't like the yellow border. This could be on like a pink border, and I would love this card.
like
Like, I don't care what
what,
color.
dude?
That's amazing.
That makes me happy.
That's
He's riding a
so
bike.
cool. Made out of a monster bug.
Something. That's so cool. Bloodghast
Super
go
fucking
fast.
dope.
Bloodghast. Oh, there's a purple one.
I was saying pink
Oh,
as I
that
was
the
choking.
lavender is much easier on the eyes.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. What's the flavor text?
This baby runs on unleaded O negative.
Empire. So yeah, Bloodghast is back in standard, baby. We're gonna have some fun with that for sure.
Yeah.
But Bloodghast makes this card so much better because
Yeah.
you sack the Bloodghast, surveil, and then because it's a non-token, you make a tap 2/2, and then let's say like you hit your land drop afterwards, your Bloodghast comes back. Then on their turn, you sack the same Bloodghast, you make another 2/2, so now you have 4 power off one Bloodghast and one land drop. Let's say your land drop was an Evolving Wilds.
Oh yeah.
Then you crack the Evolving Wilds on their end step, and then you get your Bloodghast back, and you have for 2 mana and an Evolving Wilds on turn 3.
Yeah.
You have 3. You have literally 9 power
Yeah. That's insane.
on turn 3. You go Bloodghast turn 2
If we can
into
get
this and
max
fetch land.
speed, which like
If you can get max
uh,
speed for sure.
yeah, which like the earliest that
That
we could get max speed is I think that we like
turn 3,
I think
I guess.
like colorless land and the Bomat courier have
That's 2.
that's you basically need to have like a 1 mana colorless card with haste. So it's basically just Bomat courier, which this isn't in standard, but just giving
Yeah,
an
which is
example
tough.
of like that's a play that you can make colorless untap land, start your engines, tap Bomat courier, put the speed to 2. Super nice, super efficient, but that means that the very earliest that you could potentially have max speed um,
Is
would
3.
be turn 3 because it says it increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. So it's your turns. You can't like double it up, which is important to note. Also, it means that like Witch's Cauldron, like I'm really high of like some of these artifact cards and Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven. It makes it way more awkward because you have to do it on your turn to enable it. So maybe just having like a blood artist plus bloodghast is like the just the way to do it because bloodghast can't block anyway, so it's like there's no downside of sacking that on your turn. But yeah,
It's fair.
Zahur is super cool. Love that. What are the arts of you? Cat energy. Cat energy.
Yeah.
You got it. Wondrous. Love that for you.
Middle. Does you say there's some saddle cards that we don't really like. That's like a selfless
Yeah.
spirit for saddle cards.
Yeah.
This
This
card
one.
is insane. Talk about it.
3 and a black. Crypt Caller Chariot. It's an artifact vehicle. It's a 5/5 with menace. Whenever you discard one or more cards, create that many tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and it's got crew too. Totally reasonable crew cost. Um, It's got one of those simple type like, this is one of the things that I think Wizards is doing a better job of like, pulling back on the word complexity of a card and putting in implied complexity, where it's like, this card reads super simple. Whenever you discard one or more cards, create that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. But obviously, the avenues that it opens up is really, really big. Like, you could be discarding cards with like rummaging effects. You could be forcing mass discard amongst like multiple players. Like it's just kind of enable. Don't we have free? I guess Psychic Frog is like the free discard outlet that I'm thinking of. I don't think we have any
Yeah.
free discard outlets in standard that I'm unless I'm blanking on something. But
We need to check to see if Noose Constrictor is legal in Foundations.
there you go.
Because they could have put Noose Constrictor in Foundations.
It's very possible.
Discards. So here's the thing with this card. This is one of those cards where if you look at it and you don't really read it that closely, right? You just skim through it. You're like, oh, this card's busted. Or this card's totally fine. No, there's nothing busted here.
Yeah.
But if you really read the card, right? If you look past the stat line, if you like really think about it, my brain immediately goes to commander. And if you have like a wheel, you discard 7 cards, you make 7/2/2s, and you draw 7 cards.
Mm,
Like Nekusar, you play
that,
this in like Nekusar,
that's a great point.
where like you're
Ooh,
wheeling every single turn.
me and Jack talked
Um,
today about Queen Kayla Bing Krug, which wheels in standard. It's a 3 mana Boros card. We could pay for and wheel. Discard all the cards in your hand, drop that many, and then what it does is you can choose a creature and an artifact that are mana value 1, mana value 2, and mana value 3, and put them into play. So like that's a super cool.
that's
That's super
awesome.
cool. Like if you can somehow make that mana work, make the rest of that deck work, you can like Caleb in, Crib Collar Chariot, wheel on 5, just like dump your hand, put it all everything you dumped in the graveyard back into play, make a bunch of zombies. Like that's so cool.
Damn.
I like that idea. So yeah, shout out. Like that's wheels are definitely the best thing to do with it for sure. Yeah, we love Crypt Crawler Chariot. I think that that's going to be like exciting to build around. Not going to talk about these two. This is a human. It makes cats. This is a Izoni variant.
It's literally just Izoni. Cole's so right.
Yeah, so let's move on. Thunderous Velocipede. 1 green for a 5/5 trample. Each other vehicle and creature you control enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, it enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters on it. 3 additional. And it's got crew 3, so it's a 3 mana 5/5 with crew 3 and trample. Crew 3 historically is a hard crew cost. That's not an easy crew cost to make happen. So that's tough, but it's a mythic, which symbolizes, I think Wizards knows that this is a powerful card. Me and Jack were talking about putting Kaito into play. Again, if we can make that mana work, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Kaito just enters as a 7/7 and smacks your opponent and can't be blocked.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And I also just thought about Convoke. Like
Mm.
anything, I was thinking about what can you like play that shrinks like mana value. You just play like Night Error into Vios, becomes a 7/7. Like
Oh yeah.
anything you're just like cheating into play, like that's like 4+. This becomes like your beans, right? But instead of like drawing cards, you just kill your opponent.
Yeah, no, this card is sweet. I like this card a lot. So funky, interesting. Love that for us. Anything what else do we got on the docket here? We talked about those cards. Yes. This
Yeah,
is
I'm not
interesting.
really.
I think this is something to talk about potentially. Not like for like a lot of time, but
Yeah,
2 mana, two,
two
three.
mana,
Yeah, go for it.
2 mana 2/3 legendary creature human pilot mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So just like it free saddles your thing. The issue with vehicles and with mounts is that you lose tempo because you already have an existing creature,
Yeah.
and you lose that creature as an attacker. This just replaces it for free, which is amazing.
Yeah, this card's gonna be good. If there's any sort of playable vehicles, then this card is gonna be the what facilitates that game plan. But let's move on.
The
Sad face
good
to the
Gear
Gear
Hulk.
Hulks.
The good Gear Hulk and the bad Gear Hulk.
You think this one's the
The
good
po-
one?
yeah, I think and that's how bad they are. Is that is that the 6 mana 7/7 that's unplayable in constructed formats.
Yeah.
It's like a commander bomb
Yeah.
is going to be the better of the two.
Six
So
mana,
this
7/7 that pumps your team for 2, gives them vigilance and menace. And damage can't be
does
prevented, so like they can't fog
it,
you.
but it basically does nothing at the end of the day, right? Like
Yeah.
constructed format, if you don't have any creatures in play, it enters and it dies to
Yeah.
you go like shatter.
Yeah, it's like the classic end race forerunners. It's 6 mana though, so it's like that's interesting. I feel like
They're
we're
discounting
like
it.
creeping our way down. So like that's if if it can see play, I think it's gonna see play because and then Oil Deep Gearhall gets a 4 mana 4/4 lifelink lifelink ward 1. When the creature enters, look at the top or look at target player's hand. You may choose a card from it. If you do, that player discards that card, then draws a card. It's a
Card
blinkable
so bad.
Vendilion click. It's so medium and fine. I don't think it should have been. I don't think it should have been a mythic. Like it's fairly like I can't say that it's terrible. It's just such so mid that it makes me feel disappointed for it being in the mythic slot. That's all.
Well,
That's how I feel
Cole
about it.
said it. Cole said it perfectly. Cole was like, "This card feels like an uncommon," and I totally agree. I'm
Yeah.
reading this card. Like this card had to have been like an 8 mana bomb that wins the game, and they were like, "Okay, scale back the mana," and then they scaled back all the effects, and it's
Yeah.
just like the shell of a busted card. Like
Like it was like a 4 mana like this was in their draft chaff and it was a 4 mana 4/4 ward 1 with this effect that V clicked and it was just like and it's an artifact creature. It's just like let's make it a mythic and give it lifelink and call it a day. It's like ugh.
that's the Demir Gear Hulk. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
Let's move on to cards that we're excited to play though.
Oh my
Azaret the
god.
Godseeker.
Oh my god.
She bag.
The goblins will be concluding Hazaret probably. Like this is insane. We'll be trying our best to turn on the engines, even though goblins don't know how to drive cars usually. Um, so there's some exceptions, but for the most part, we like to destroy cars, not drive them.
Maybe this is the set where
Hazaret,
they learn though, you know? This could be the one.
it's true. Hazaret's going to be the driver. Hazaret's 2 mana for a 5/3. It got indestructible and haste. Start your engines. One tap. Target creature with power 2 or less can be blocked this turn. Hazard can't attack or block unless you have max speed. So it makes your dudes unblockable. If you play like small hasty dudes, which we do, first thing I thought about was if you have dudes that get big on attack, then you just like make it unblockable, and then after attacks have been declared, then you make it big. And then once you hit max speed on turn 3 or 4 or 5, this is just a 5/3 with indestructible and haste. Damn.
My bad. I was muted. Two things that I didn't think about when first read this card. First one is I misread the ability. I thought that it was basically saying target creature and opponent controls power 2 less can't block. This is better templating, making it so that this is more like Key to the City, which is a
Yeah.
comparison I made to it last time. Oh, Steam just decided to say hello. Hi, Steam.
Seems like hello.
Um, and so that's better. Key to the City, I think, is just like Jack said. Like you have an Ember Heart challenger. You pay this on turn. You play this on turn 3, or you play the challenger, and like you can pay 1, target the challenger. You flip a card. You're off to the races, and then you can start monstrous raging it, and it can't be blocked. So that's big. That's huge. Um, I will say it's really unfortunate that we're living in like mono nowhere to run a mono nowhere to run format right now with nurturing pixie and like no this town ain't big enough. So unfortunate that Hazaret has 3 toughness and
Yep.
it's like perfect it perfectly lines up with nowhere to run and that's really unfortunate. So um yeah, I mean they could have made it a 4/4 to but like who's they're not designing that card with nowhere to run in mind and
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully
and
we'll
we'll
be
play
rid of
through
that. Yeah, hopefully we'll be rid of that meta game because think that like this sounding big enough might be just a little bit too good for the format.
them.
Like unironically, that card is so good, so good. But yeah, Hazoret. Like also, this art is a
Jesus
W.
Christ!
Love this
I didn't
art.
see it. I didn't see that at all. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I will
border,
say,
full border too.
okay, that yellow border isn't as horrible as the rest of them.
Oh,
But
you mean this one's bad?
that one that one's really bad. I will say,
I love all my magic artists equally, but I am not a
oh
big
my
fan of
god.
that art
Well,
myself.
you know the artist who got tasked with that was not happy, right? He's like, "Oh my god, I get to work on magic art," and then it's like you get to make a yellow
Specifically,
themed.
show Hazoret throwing a spear, and she has to be in the
Yep.
same like. Ugh,
Well, like they have to tint. They're like, okay, you do the like the yellow gold version of this one, and the border is going to become yellow. It's like, oh
yeah,
god.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay, not a ton left on our list.
so
Quagfeast is
Quag,
one.
Quag Feast is 2 mana. It's amazing. 2 mana for a sorcery. Choose target creature, planeswalker, or vehicle. Mill 2 cards, then destroy the chosen permanent if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. So it's a sorcery, yes, but you can like after turn two, right? You can hit something that's 1 or 2
Mm-hmm.
because you have 2 cards in your graveyard for sure.
Yeah,
After turn two, this just scales up really fast. It's a mill card, and it's like sometimes just gonna be 2 mana unconditional removal for vehicle, planeswalkers, or creatures.
agreed. For me, you're putting this card in your deck. I immediately like. I'm just gonna assume that you can kill anything that you want to target with it, like within reason. Maybe Atraxa, like Titan of Industry. Like these giant cards might be off limits, but like for the most part, you're putting in this deck. I assume that you're gonna facilitate in a way that like you not being able to kill the creature is not gonna happen very often. So with that kind of mindset in place, this card's unplayable in my like mind, even if it was like 2 mana sorcery destroy target creature, except for the fact that it mills 2 cards. So like we're living in a world where there's a lot of flash threats. You're dealing with enduring curiosity. Like having a sorcery speed removal spell is quite detrimental to your game plan in comparison to having something like shoot the sheriff or go for the throat, cut down as an option. However, if you are really, really taking advantage of that mill synergy, it could be worth it. It could be worth
Yeah,
it.
I'll say this card goes really well with Tolarian Terror. It's a really good thing to play with Delirium.
That's a good point.
Nowhere like
It's 3 spells. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm thinking about like cards like that where it's like this like it doesn't need permanence in the graveyard, so it just needs you to like mill cards. So this could be really good with Oculus. Like there's a billion reasons right now to put cards in your graveyard, right? And it's
Yeah.
got murder stapled to it.
Yeah, I think this
Ah,
is what we're I think this is what we're referring to. It's like some of
it's
them it's
like
like this card is
scroll ups.
sick.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
It's just like
Compare it.
it
Compare it. It's like that's
I
cool,
the
right?
issue might
Relatively
be
cool.
the issue might
And then
be I
it's
just
just
don't like
like,
when
what
it's
did you
copy
do?
pasting the same art onto a different frame. I think
And then yeah, it's just like edit the background to
yeah,
be
like
yellow.
exactly. Like if it was like something like this, sick
That's
Lord of the
beautiful.
Undead art. Um
Yeah.
like maybe, but like yeah, so okay, and then I think we have 3 more cards. We've got this one,
I love the Aganos. Okay, so Aganosaur Rex. Aganosaur Rex.
Aganosaur or
It's not
Agana
Aganosaurus, it's Aganosaur.
Oh yeah, you're right. Aganosaur. I'm an Aganosaurus.
Aganosaur, 5 mana for an 8/8 with trample. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Cycling 3. When you cycle this card, put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to one target creature or vehicle. It gains trample and indestructible until end of turn. So not only is it cycle, oh, I just need to like buff this thing up and combat trick. It has trample. Like it also has indestructible, so it's gonna eat your thing. It also is indestructible. It's gonna survive the wrath. It's going to burn your removal spell. Plus, it gets like leveled up. And if it doesn't, if oh Jesus, that's so cool. If it doesn't need to be cycled, I'll just play a 5 mana 8/8 with trample. Like I will kill you with the one and only Velocity Raptor. It's so good.
That is really good. I'm gonna say this right now. I really, really like the, you've pushed the
Yeah.
mana symbols into the fabric. Like, that's so cool. I really, really like that. Um, I
See,
think for the first time in my
even
life,
that.
I'm considering buying a collector booster just so I can get my hands on, like, this type of art treatment. 'Cause I'm just a sucker
Yeah.
for, like, the for that kinda stuff. I will say this is where we're at in fire design right now. 5 mana, 8/8 with trample, waiting for the downside. There's no downside. I think, in Duskborn,
And it's a combat trick if you can't cast it early.
it's either Duskborn or Foundations, if I'm not mistaken. There's like a 6 mana 12/12. It's like 3 green, green, green for a 12/12 at common. It's just like that's where we're at right now with fire design.
Yeah.
And that card's fine, by the way. It's not like amazing or
Nobody
anything.
plays it.
Yeah,
Nobody
it's
plays
like
it.
fine, like not great.
Standard unplayable. It's standard unplayable.
Yeah, so this card's cool. I think, the fact that you could pay 3 mana, draw a card, put 2 counters on a creature, trample indestructible. You could do that for a vehicle too. Like there's a lot of upside there, and you get to put this art in your deck, which is massive upside. He's like
Yeah.
he's charging up his feet.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's insane. Lovely. Lovely.
And so I'd say yeah, you want to just talk about the last one?
Yeah, let's do one more. Zabsunin, Luxa embodied, 3 blue green, 6/6, reach, trample, indestructible. Um, Sabsunin can't attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it. 0 is even. So you pay 5 mana, it's a 6/6 brick wall reach, so it's got trample and it's got indestructible. So that's where we're at right now. Beginning of your first main phase, put a 1/1 counter on Sabsunin. Then if it has an odd number of counters on it, draw 2 cards. So you play it, it's a brick wall for blocking. The next turn, it's a 7/7, you draw 2 cards. It doesn't do any attacking or blocking. The next turn, it's an 8/8. It's a giant brick wall. It doesn't have vigilance, so you have to choose if you want to attack with your 8/8 trample indestructible reach or if you want to like leave it back. Next turn you draw 2 cards. So it's like that's kind of the play pattern that you see with the oh, it's just a god. I see. Interesting. This is cool. It's like graffiti art.
Yeah,
Like
I'm guessing this is like one of like the gods of like the home race.
mhm.
Like I know it's like from Amonkhet, but like I'm guessing that like Amonkhet's one of the host planes because I'm seeing a lot of Amonkhet themes.
Yes, the
And
flavor text of this card. They too deserve to witness Amonkhet's rebirth. And it's like
yeah,
Lazatept cats. It's like the regal caracals.
yeah, we're pulling the chariot.
Yeah, pulling the chariot.
Yeah, I think that this whole set is super cool. That card specifically is really, really cool.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I
yeah.
think that they did a great job with the themes and the design. Crypt Caller is one of my favorite cards out of the set. Um, there was one other card. If you scroll up a little bit more,
Yeah, this one.
yeah, that's the last one I want to talk about. So 2 mana for a 2/2. Exhaust. 1 red. Other creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and then exhaust 4. Create a 4/4 red dinosaur dragon creature token with flying. I just want to say, like, this is a card where, like, you can, chump block, bring it back after you make your 4/4. You can ephemerate it. There's, like, a bunch of different ways where you can do this. And then, like, all those other cards that tap to make mana that are only can be used on abilities, just shove that mana right in here, right? Like, you play
Oh, that's such a good point.
that boom driver, and you just make your 4/4 for free.
Boommobile.
Um, yeah, your boommobile. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
Agatha's
just
Soul Cauldron plus this is good too. Like you put that under an Agatha's Soul Cauldron in your Goblins deck, and now all of your creatures with counters on them just have red. Put a counter on this creature, haste my whole team, and you can like potentially just be doing that over the course of several turns. And also you can just like poop out dragons whenever you have the mana for it. This card seems really good as long as there's support for it, as long as there's like it's accurately positioned. I think that this card can see good play, and it's got cool alt art too.
yo, it's got the sickest art.
Hell yeah.
Riding the rockets. That makes sense. Look, Cole, they don't drive
Gentle
cars.
gentle goblins, start your dragons. Let's go. Okay,
That's
that's gotta be
amazing.
the best flavor from the set so far. Like, there's so many good flavor. Like the last ride flavor was really good. This one's
Yeah.
good. So shout out to Wizards. I mean, I just want to take a second and acknowledge the fact that like I know I'm not the only person that is genuinely concerned about the state of Magic with Universes Beyond coming into standard sets. But as long as we're seeing, in my eyes, design space like this continue to thrive, like this is really the Magic that pulls me in. Like even if I don't necessarily like or tune into the Universes Beyond sets, like as long as I still see them being like, okay, we love to um, pay homage to the like Vorthos that we've created, and we're not ready to just like throw it all out and do the Fortnitification of Magic. Like artwork like this, the set as a whole makes me feel hopeful for Magic, which is nice. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
plus.
I feel like they are showing us that they can do things like this and still show us that they love the game. Repurposing Bay is a birthing pod.
Yeah.
It's 3 mana, 2 tap, sack another artifact, search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1+. So it's like activate only as a sorcery. It's literally a birthing pod.
Yeah.
So like they're showing us that they want to create cool things and they're willing to like give us like tools and stuff, and we just have to like believe in them. And so like I think that's like the point of like this set is to show us it's like, hey, look, like we can do like the big because like what they did with March of the Machine, right? When like they did all of the planar invasions at the same time,
Mm,
we got really scared. We were like, they're getting too spread apart. And with this set, they've really killed it on bringing it back and being concise and showing us that they're giving us power, but it's controlled. You
right.
know.
Totally. Yeah. Agreed. Not sure if we talked about Duretti. I think you've done some talk about Duretti.
Yeah, I feel like Duretti is one of those cards where it's like it depends on how good the artifacts that come out in the set are, right? Oh my god, that's some amazing art.
Yeah, I like these first
Oh,
person.
the first person arts are so sick.
The boat. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Magic, you better make a racing game
Oh,
using
dude, Aetherdrift
these
using this
assets.
like assets would be so fucking cool. Are you
Like
kidding me?
look at that, look at how cool that is. It's
Yeah.
already right there. Like the artist did all of the work. They painted the thing. You just gotta get somebody to design
All of the concept is done already, so only
it.
the rest of it needs to be made. That doesn't seem too hard.
Yeah.
Magic has only been working on a show for like the last several years and scrapped it several times. So
Oh my god, here's an idea that will never happen. So Magic makes an what is it? RPG game for
mm.
each set. So like you have like Innistrad, and Innistrad is just your role playing as a planeswalker. Like
Dude,
it's a game,
Elden
right?
Ring, but like Magic the Gathering,
But
Innistrad,
Magic the Gathering,
Dark
and then
Souls.
like you come out with new releases for each plane, and it's like not super high quality because of course it
Ugh.
can't be, but like they give us like a game,
Or it
and you're
could
able to like
be like, or it
you're
could
able to
be.
play in the game.
Yeah, I can dream.
That'd
You
be
can dream. That'd be so
I can
cool.
dream. I
Like
can
like a
dream.
Cyberpunk 2077, but it's Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Yeah.
Can you imagine? It exists. It exists in our brain, and it
S-
can exist in this world.
So it does. So it does. All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. This has been good. Excited for the set. I'm sure that we'll have more like specific cards to come as the set kind of continues to reveal itself. Seems like a lot of the cards are spoiled already, if not all of them. Like we might already
It's
just have all of them.
I think it's half. I think there's still like
Okay,
like there's specific like people will have like their own releases.
mm,
Wizards will gift them to people,
I see.
but I think that we have a good chunk left.
Understood. Okay, cool. But yeah, that's it for me. It's been a good time, and yeah, we'll catch you later.
I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Peace.
Peace.